This is Hello Brain, presented by Brainnovation Network.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. DeJ'a, the newest host of Hello Brain, but today I have the honor of interviewing our OG host, the one and only Collin Adams. He is a brain health educator, a functional medicine coach, the director of provider partnerships at the Brainnovation Network, and usually the voice asking exactly what we're all wondering. So, Collin, before you were the guy sitting across from a neuroscientist, a physical therapist, and a physician every week on Hello Brain, there were moments or events or experiences that brought you to where you are today. So I want to start there, okay? You're going to take us back. So you got diagnosed with ADHD. Do you remember that day? What was actually going through your head? Did it feel like something was wrong with you, or did it feel more like finally getting an answer?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Thanks for asking. And it's really cool to be on this side of the interview this week. So thanks for stepping into my seat. I really appreciate that. That day, yeah, I remember it quite well because I grew up going to the same doctor. He
Oh,
was actually a family friend of ours too, so it was always a pretty comfortable environment. And at that time, I was making the transition from high school to
yeah.
college. I was in my first semester of college, so
Uh-huh.
the difference in educational structure, where in high school you're going to one class after the other all day long and then you leave.
Uh-huh.
In college, it's kind of more up to you to show up and do your work and do things. And
Uh-huh.
I was having a hard time with that,
Uh-huh.
on top of playing baseball and spending hours on that per day as well. So I really was
Uh-huh.
just looking for answers on why everything seemed to be so hard from a mental perspective.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so I went in and we ran through kind of the gold standard questionnaire that's out there, even
Uh-huh.
still to this day, for assessing ADHD. And
Uh-huh.
turns out I had it, and I had scored exceptionally high on the
Uh-huh.
assessment, meaning that I really had it. I didn't just kind of had it. I
Yeah.
really, really had it. So I think for me at the time, it was more validating than it was upsetting
Mhm.
or considering that something was wrong with me. I think before that, I had always kind of had this underlying feeling that something
Yeah.
was wrong, and
Mhm.
I just never knew what it was. So it was really helpful to have those answers.
So you felt a little bit relieved.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
relief was a good word because it just felt like I finally knew that
Mhm.
there was a reason for all of the
Mhm.
different experiences I was having.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people went through or go through like what you experienced too. So getting answers, even like people, if they are trying to get treated for a condition that they don't know about and they're like, I finally know what it is. Like, yay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it makes a
yeah.
big difference when you have that knowledge, and I'm
Yeah.
sure, I mean, there's probably like an epidemic level of undiagnosed ADHD
Uh-huh.
out in the world, so the more knowledge we have of our brain, the better, and the more
Yeah.
helpful it's gonna be.
Yeah. So, I heard you talk about this in a couple other episodes also. So let's talk about the yips. So for people who've never felt it, what does it actually feel like? So you're standing there, your brain wants to move, and your body just doesn't. Like, what is that?
Yeah, so at the same time that I was struggling in my education, focusing in class, struggling
Um.
socially, I also, after playing for a coach that same first year of
Mhm.
college, I had developed something called the yips. And in sports, it's just essentially when, as an athlete, you have a skill that you do really well, and all of a sudden you lose that skill because of a severe level of anxiety that becomes physical. So what that meant was for me was, in high school, I had the opportunity to be named a preseason All-American. I was probably overly confident as a pitcher, probably even a little arrogant, at times. I went from being that to not being able to throw the ball 10 feet to my throwing
Mhm.
partner while playing catch because I was afraid to overthrow my partner. I didn't
Wow.
feel like I had good timing and rhythm on my throw anymore.
Uh-huh.
And that all stemmed from a fight or flight response that I developed playing for this coach.
Mm.
And the way that the way that it manifested itself really was in a physical feeling of anxiety running through my forearm into my hand. So as soon as I would kind of go through my throwing motion, when I hit about right here, I felt myself tense up and then like would throw the ball all over the place. So
Wow.
yips can happen to a kicker in football who is really good and all of a sudden can't kick it at all
Wow.
in any direction. It can happen in basketball with free throws. It can happen in baseball where a pitcher is really good, but he can't throw to the bases well. But it can also happen in everyday life because it's just performance anxiety. So if someone has
Mm,
severe anxiety that stems from some experience that they had,
mhm.
um, maybe in giving a sales pitch or a presentation or speaking in front of people, it's something. The yips really goes across the board.
Yeah. So were you ever able to like overcome it during that time when it came about? So like maybe a couple games or so you realized that this is a thing and then was it all the time or did you find a way to not have the yips anymore?
It was all the time.
Mm.
I actually quit baseball because of it after my freshman year of
Um,
college. I
um,
was like, I don't love this anymore. I can't seem to throw the ball. And the dream that I had of playing professionally was dying because I was afraid to
oh,
throw the ball. And so, um, after a year away from the game, I decided to
mhm,
play again, at a
mhm,
new college. And so I transferred there. It was a much better environment. The coach is incredible person. I still talk with him every once in a while, even to this day.
mhm.
And so the environment was all there for me to thrive and be successful, but I still had this leftover angst.
Oh,
Um,
mhm,
the yips didn't just go away because I stopped playing baseball. I really had to deal with it, but I didn't know how. And so I
mhm,
continued to be frustrated even through that year until my parents came they came down to watch me play in a weekend series, and the
mhm,
first inning that I went out to pitch, there's something in baseball called an immaculate inning for a pitcher,
mm,
and it's when you get 3 outs on
mhm.
9 pitches, all strikes, all strikeouts, so it's like you strike out each batter with 3 pitches, and that's what I
Wow.
did in that first inning. It went extremely well. I was thrilled.
Wow.
I was like, "Yep, my parents are here to see that, like, I feel great." And then the next inning, I came out, nothing in the environment had changed. I
Mm,
was still feeling relatively confident.
mm,
I was actually in a lower part of the batting order, so technically it should have been easier to get through that part of the lineup.
mhm.
I walked the first 4 batters. I couldn't find the strike zone with anything, and I got pulled out of the game. And I just remember that that had happened over and over and over again over the last couple of years with baseball. So I just remember sitting on the bench after being taken out of the game at a complete loss for what to
Wow.
do. And I kind of felt at that point like I did before I went into the doctor's office to get diagnosed with ADHD. I
Mm,
just kind of felt lost and like, what's wrong with me? What's going on?
yeah,
And is this something that I can fix?
yeah. So, with being diagnosed with the ADHD and then having experienced the yips, do you think medication is what pretty much helped you break that cycle, or you don't know because you didn't go back to baseball, like, after that?
Yeah. Yeah, medication did not really work for me at first.
Mm, mhm,
The process of trying different dosages was really
mhm,
hard. For
mhm,
me at the time I was very thin, so if you gave me a high dose milligram, I stayed awake for 3 straight days, didn't eat, was really productive, but didn't really
mhm,
do well, so I didn't have a great experience with medication at first. I found one that kind of was good for holding me over, but I
mhm,
didn't really notice any kind of real benefit from it. The same day that my parents were there watching me play and that happened where I
mhm,
was 2 different pitchers across 2 different innings, we went out to dinner that night, and I just remember sitting across the table from them being kinda distraught, just, like, nearly
mhm,
in tears, like, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I love this game, but I just can't seem to do it anymore, and
mhm,
I don't know what to do."
yeah,
Fortunately, we had a family friend who, is a professional athlete, and we had recently seen that he had done a Sports Illustrated article about how he was working with a neuropsychologist on
Mm.
something called neurofeedback.
Mhm.
And while we were sitting there at the table that night at dinner, my dad texted this family friend, and just by happenstance, he responded in like 30 seconds and got us connected with this neuropsychologist. And uh, within like a week, I had all of this neurofeedback technology set up in my apartment at my school.
Mhm.
And that was really a big turning point for me at that point.
Wow. So you getting access to neurofeedback. And would you say is that when I know you talk about Mindy. Was that when you learned about Mindy too or no? This
Yeah,
was
good
later.
question. So Mendy wasn't around quite yet. I love Mendy.
Okay.
Mendy's a
Mhm.
neurofeedback partner of Brainnovation Network. Huge fan
Mhm.
of them. Love their team. That at the time was a company out of Toronto, I believe, called
Mhm.
Thought Tech. It
Oh,
was
I love it.
honestly kind of a barbaric setup. It was like a big top screen, a DVD player, all kinds of cords. I had wires all
Cool.
over my head. There was gel and paste involved, but
Mhm.
um, none of that mattered to me. It didn't matter to me that
Yeah.
it took 30 minutes to set up a session because for the first time in my entire life, I saw my brain projected up on a screen.
Mm.
And the projection was the electrical frequencies of different regions of my brain. And I was able to see, like, oh, that's where that performance anxiety is happening. And that's how it's
Wow.
manifesting itself, or that's how the ADHD is manifesting itself.
Mhm.
And there's something that I can do about it. So
Yeah.
I attacked it. I probably did an hour of neurofeedback 7 days a week for 2.5 years. I never missed a day
Wow.
once, because I just had that fire and I still wanted to play professional baseball. So that was kind of the driving force.
Mhm.
Finally, I had something to do
Mhm.
that was going to benefit me. And
Yeah.
really, the benefits of neurofeedback went far beyond baseball. Like, yeah, I resolved the yips thing.
Yeah.
But I went from someone whose room was a complete mess. Like you couldn't see the floor. There was clothes everywhere. I never put my clean clothes away. My
Wow.
papers and books and everything were everywhere. My bed was never made. Post neurofeedback about, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks.
Mhm.
My room was like military style clean. Like
Mhm.
bed was made and tucked in. Clothes were like not
Wow.
just folded and put away, but like organized based on like color and type of clothing. My books and my schoolwork, everything had their place. So I just feel like besides baseball, just in life in general, I didn't necessarily change. It didn't change who I was. It just helped me to be more of who I am. And
Yeah.
and that's what I think was really important. Having access to that was a big deal.
So that's the lifestyle, those are the characteristics or behaviors you've always wanted to do. You just couldn't physically do it because of this issue you had going on.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I think that, conversations would probably end after about 30 seconds with anyone
yeah.
as I either
Mhm.
got disinterested, bored, or
Mhm.
confused. Um,
Yeah.
and maybe, I don't know, a week and a half into neurofeedback
Yeah.
training, my dad had called me on the phone when I was at college. He was back at home. And
Mhm.
after an hour on the phone, he stopped the conversation, was like, Collin, it's incredible. We've been on the phone for over an hour. That's never happened before. And
Wow.
I just remember in that moment thinking like, wow, this is actually like
Yeah.
something's happening here that I need to
Yeah.
pay attention to. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into brain health. And now I'm completely
Yeah.
obsessed with it.
Well, and outside of just helping yourself too, like it wasn't just a personal problem that you were dealing with. I mean, you started to want to build something for other people. So like even doing this podcast and even becoming your brain health coach, like all the things you do, like at what point did you say, I want this to not just impact me, but I want it to impact everybody else too?
Yeah, that's a two-part answer. I think
Yeah.
that I had done so many neurofeedback sessions with this neuropsychologist that the following summer
Um,
he actually hired me as an intern to work with one of his NFL teams. And for me, who loves sports, I love to be in a
mhm,
sports environment. The opportunity
mhm,
to do brain health, which I was growing a passion for with professional athletes, was honestly
oh,
a dream come true. So I got to
Really?
do that for a while and really enjoyed it.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and after that, I think that I just recognized that I had unique access to something that most people don't get access to. Not everybody knows a professional athlete who was featured in Sports
Was.
Illustrated.
Mhm.
Not everybody has access to tools and technologies that can make a meaningful difference. And so I think that really that just came my passion. That just
Yeah.
became the passion. And with working with Tanya and Balraj at Brainnovation Network, that's kind of become the vision and mission of our company.
Yeah. And did you kinda just stumble upon them too? So how did you get to meet, the whole Brainnovation team?
Yeah, yeah. So after I was working with the neuropsychologist,
Mhm.
I was able then to, after doing some certifications, accept a job as a functional medicine health coach. I really went down the rabbit hole with this pretty deep.
Yeah.
Uh, so I didn't want to just know about neurofeedback. I wanted to know about the brain and like lifestyle medicine and how habits and routines can
Mhm.
change brain states instead of just medication. And so went deep down the rabbit hole, became a functional medicine health coach specializing in brain health for
Mhm.
the Medical Institute based in Bellevue, Washington,
Mhm.
and was working that for several years, like 5 years. And I think through that was connected with Tanya Yardley, who at the time was working in the Health and Technology District in Vancouver,
Mhm.
Canada.
Mhm.
And we just had a super aligned mission for this whole access thing and this idea that there are so many incredible technologies and so many incredible creators and people out there working, innovating in the brain health space, but no one knows about them. Like this
Yeah.
neuropsychologist I worked with, nope. I mean, even still to this day, not many people know he exists and he's just out there like changing lives. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how we all got connected, the three of
Yeah.
us. And just decided to roll with Brainnovation Network, trying to create access to better brain health solutions like these.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys saw a need and you came together and you wanted to kind of give these resources and these tools and make it more accessible for people who might need it. So it's not just one thing. If I asked you all the tools that we talk about on the show and that people, all these resources and businesses that are out there that can help us, and now you bringing it to the light, um, you probably wish all of them existed for you back then as that kid who needed it.
Yeah, yeah. My mom and I were actually talking about this a little while
Mhm.
back. The idea of, had we known about
Mhm.
ADHD and had we had access to different resources at that time when I was maybe like
Yeah.
7 or 8 years old, what do
Yeah.
I think would have been different? And it's hard to look back and say like what would have been different because
Yeah.
even though my parents didn't know anything
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
neurodiversity or like how to support someone with ADHD through nutrition,
Mhm.
movement, they did an incredible job. Like, uh, for an example, my mom, when I was in second grade, I was like no participation in class. Like, you were not going to catch me dead raising my hand for anything. I
Wow.
was like just looking forward to recess, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then going home. Uh,
Mhm.
Lunchtime was pretty cool for me too. Um, so my mom thought like, hey, we
Mhm.
gotta we gotta find a way to make this work for him. So
Mhm.
she created this game for me. Every day when I went into second grade, she said, make sure that you keep a tally of the amount of times you raise your hand in class. And based on the number of times you raise your hand, there will be a different kind of reward for you when you come home. And so I
Wow.
went from someone who was like sitting like cross-armed in class, not raising my hand, don't care to participate, to like I was raising my hand when someone else was asking to go to the bathroom.
Wow.
Like every time there was a question, I was like, "Yep, I got that." Because my mom found a way to gamify it and make it
Right.
meaningful or interesting for me. And there's this whole thing in the ADHD community about interest-based attention. And even without any information, my mom just had the intuition to know to create
Wow.
interest for me. And so I can't say that my experience
Mhm.
necessarily would have been super different had I known, but I love that
Yeah.
what we're creating at Brainnovation Network and what we're working on with all of our partners and advisors across the world
Mhm.
is to create a world where there's better access for kids and for even adults who are struggling with these things to better
Yeah.
relate to the brain and understand what's going on.
Yeah, I think you should maybe ask your mom, like, who told her to do that? Or maybe, like you said, it was just her intuition, and she knew, "I have to do something different for my son." But that's pretty
Yeah.
impressive that she knew what to do, because parenting can be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can.
I think she just knew, like,
Yeah,
she just knew me and knew what would be helpful and just found a way to make it happen. So
yeah, yeah,
super appreciate her for that. Definitely.
yeah. And Brainnovation Network is also doing all these great things. I mean, and with the show, like you brought, physician, a PT, a neuroscientist on here, and I know that you went all that way you went through with the yips, and it makes total sense. So it's like a body problem, a brain problem, a nervous system problem, like all at once. So was that intentional? Like with this show, did your, like, own experience shape why we needed to have, like, a physical therapist and a Ramona and a Dan and me, like,
Yeah.
is that intentional?
It's absolutely intentional for several reasons.
Mhm,
I think that Dr. Dan brings
mhm,
a medical background. He's an MD. He's also a
mhm,
PhD with a focus in neuroscience and public policy.
mhm.
And then he's also got his MBA just because he likes to be in school, I guess. So I
Yeah.
think that he has a particular perspective that can be
Mhm,
valuable. Dr.
mhm,
Ramona is a trained PhD neuroscientist, so a lot
mhm,
of research background and experience in the lab working through things and then working with different companies on how to not just commercialize, but also make
mhm,
go through the FDA process and be really validated. And
mhm,
then having you, who is a doctor of physical therapy focusing on vestibular care,
mhm,
it's that absolutely necessary next level of
mhm,
one-to-one interacting with patients on a regular basis, seeing what's out there from the perspective of just kind of being boots on the ground. That is so necessary. But the reason it's you guys specifically, because there's a lot of people who have those
yeah,
qualifications, but the three of
mhm,
you have an incredible ability to speak about a complex topic like the brain or different things we talk about here in a way that is understandable and relatable for anyone to understand. And that's what's most important about the Hello Brain podcast is it's not that we're trying to be the most scientific. We're
yeah,
not
yeah,
trying to be the most validated or like say all the cool
mhm,
words.
mhm,
We're just trying to make the brain a conversation for the first time because people don't relate brain fog or anxiety or stress or poor sleep to their
yeah,
brain. They relate
yeah,
it to things like their job or their environment or
mhm,
their contextual situation. And we just want to make it so that listening to this podcast and
mm,
understanding or meeting your brain for the first time is kind of like you're sitting at a cafe overhearing a
mhm,
conversation amongst friends happening nearby. Uh,
yeah,
and I think that's the way that we create access to brain health is by making it a conversation that everyone can be part of instead of being
yeah,
siloed and stuck in research facilities and labs and doctors.
mhm. So it's bringing all the audience grows. It's gonna bring in different people to listen to this, and we're gonna make it make sense. And so I think that's really important. I'm excited for season 2 to, work with you and Dr. Dan and Dr. Ramona, all of us coming together to share, our experiences and everything. It's gonna be great. So what are you most excited about for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think in season 1, we did a great job of just getting organized
Mm,
and being consistent with producing shows. I think what I'm most
mhm,
excited for in season 2 is the fact that we're moving from episodes like cognitive aging and sleep,
mhm,
like we talked about in season 1, to things that are a little bit more relatable for people in everyday life. We're going to be talking about brain fog. We're going to be talking about mom brain. So I'm excited
mhm.
to hear your take on that.
Yeah,
And
it's a
many
lot
other
to talk
things
about.
where, yeah, where it's
Mhm,
people, things people are living with, they're experiencing, and then helping them relate that to what's going on in their brain instead of vice
yeah.
versa. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to have some great guests. We're going from one episode published a week to two. So that's going to be a big step. We're going to continue the interview series we've been doing with episodes releasing every Thursday. So we'll have our usual core four group publishing every Monday, talking about a topic. And then we're going to have interview series going through the fall with different incredible people out there who are just doing wonderful things, creating access to brain health.
That's exciting. That's exciting. We got a lot. So this is the last question, okay?
Yeah.
So I think it's important though, because for anybody listening who's just been diagnosed with ADHD or is still early in their journey, what advice would you give to someone who, is dealing with ADHD, who isn't ready to dive into everything that you've done? Where should they start?
Yeah, I love answering this question because
Mhm.
I never try to load people up with tasks.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, hey, you should go, best thing you can do is go out and get a walk for 30 minutes out in some fresh air every morning, or get some sunlight, or make sure you have this amount of caffeine and not this much. Like that can be helpful for people, but that
Mhm.
also just adds to things
Yeah.
that you need to do. And one thing with ADHD is we get overwhelmed quite easily. So what I would encourage anyone who has just been diagnosed or has been diagnosed a while ago and is still trying to figure out how to manage it is just notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Notice what's going on throughout the day and how you're responding to it. Notice
Mhm.
what helps you feel better, and notice what makes
Mm.
you feel worse.
Mm.
And just keep tabs on that. And I think just simply noticing, being mindful of your experience in life can open up a lot of doors and opportunities for you to find ways to improve and to regulate and to relate well with others. So yeah, I would just say, just notice.
Wow. Noted. I'm gonna put that on a sticky note there. Okay. So there we have it. I am going to turn it over to our OG host, Collin Adams, to close us out here.
Yeah, well, thanks for everybody for listening, for grinding through my story right now. We appreciate your support on this show. Lots to look forward to as we launch season 2 in a couple weeks, so be on the lookout for that on YouTube. We also just started an Instagram page, so go follow Instagram Hello Brain Pod. We'll be producing a lot of content besides the show there for you to interact with, so we're excited about that. As always, subscribe, give us a follow, comment on the show, share it with someone who you might think would
Mm-hmm.
benefit from listening. And as always, we're thankful, and we'll see you next week. You've been listening to Hello Brain, presented by Brainnovation Network.